Hey everybody, welcome back to Stable Dividends. Let's go ahead and get into this video. STXD, this is my new favorite dividend ETF. I'm gonna go ahead and get into why I don't like it first and why I do like it. Make sure to stay to the end because there's some things that are different about this compared to like VIG, DGRO, SCHD, and the like. So let's first start off with what is STXD, right? I'm going to go down here and basically I'm going to read off the methodology. Basically, it's passively managed ETF that seeks to provide exposure to U.S. companies that have a 5-year track record of growing their dividends while maintaining a dividend growth rate greater than the benchmark, right? And so that's pretty interesting, right? So it's kind of like DGRO in a certain way, right? Where you have to have 5 years of dividend growth. But what they're focused on is making sure that they have, right? We have dividend growth rate that's better than the average, right? Which is actually kind of cool. So I'm going to go ahead and get into why I don't like it first. Why would you not sign up for this kind of portfolio? Well, one, the expense ratio. Frankly, it's 0.35%. I think that's something where you just need to reconsider, like really think about if you really want that or not. I actually got that from Grant Sabathier. He wrote one of the financial independence books. It's just a rule, you can still invest in ETFs that have above, right? Above 0.3, 0.35, just something that you really want to reconsider. The next thing that I'm not even sure if it's on here, but the next thing that I don't like, and really the only other thing I don't like so far about this ETF, is the yield, right? The yield is 1.3, right? Very, very small. But as I get into some of the things that I like, I think it'll kind of turn around for you as far as like this actually is kind of an interesting portfolio, and it does depend on where you're at. But I just want to thank you guys so much as well. If you guys are subscribed, we're all the way up to 59 subscribers. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. Like for me, I actually every time I get a new subscriber, I actually yell at my girlfriend like, "Babe, we just got a new subscriber." So appreciate it. I think right now we're sitting at 8% subscribed. So if we can get that up to 10, really appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Let's get back to it. Why do I like it? One of the things that I like is the dividend growth companies are near the very top, right? So we have Apple, Microsoft, that's pretty much every single portfolio, right? But then we have Eli Lilly, we have Broadcom, United Health Group, Visa, Procter and Gamble, right? We have Costco, one of my favorite stocks. I love Costco, MasterCard, and Johnson and Johnson. And really, when we look at this, right, you see all these companies, these are dividend like behemoths, right? I mean, Home Depot's another one. They've been increasing their dividend very, very fast, very, very fast, right? And so all these different companies, it was interesting when I was doing my other video when I was looking at, companies I want to individually invest in, and I can put that video up in the right-hand corner here. These are all the companies, and it's actually really, really funny. Like Goldman Sachs had like a 25% dividend growth rate. That was pretty insane. I don't like banks, but it was pretty interesting to see that. Lowe's is one that I also invested in. So all these companies, I was like, I really want to invest in these, but I'm only going to pick a couple. And then I stumbled across this. I stumbled across a little while ago, but I decided to take a little bit more of a in-depth analysis into it. The next one. The next one is kind of similar. They also have like companies like Procter and Gamble, right? Johnson and Johnson. They also have Target in here, right? And so when you look at this, like Lowe's is another one as well. When you look at this, okay, not only do these companies have a dividend growth rate that's higher than the benchmark, right? Which is the Bloomberg Dividend 1000 Growth Index. So they have a higher growth rate than average, but Lowe's and Procter and Gamble and Johnson Johnson, Target, they've all been increasing their dividend for over half a century, right? Over 50 years. Pepsi, I believe, is another one. So it's not only that they have good dividend growth rates, it's also they've been doing it for a long, long time. So these are really, really like strong companies. So I really, really like that. The next thing, and I got one, two, three, four left, and then this will actually be a pretty short video here. But what I like about it is that it focuses on dividend growth, right? When I go into here, I'll show this in a sec, but look at this. If you didn't watch this video, here's basically what it was all about. SCHD had a fantastic quarter of 24% year-over-year growth from this June, from last June, and 14% for the first half of the year. This one had 28% and 46% dividend growth rate for the first half of the year. That's insane. I don't know if that will continue, but that's unreal, nonetheless. And this is what I call, hopefully this gives you guys a laugh, kind of like the dividend grower shower. You probably know what I'm joking about there. But if you put $1 million into each portfolio, where would you be, right? And high growth, this is kind of like STXD, right? You have a 1.3 starting yield, but you got a 17% growth rate. Obviously, it's higher, but I'm going to keep it there for now. You have tempered growth. This is kind of like a DGRO, starts at 2.5%. Growth at 10%, and then there's 4.5%, and then a growth of 6%, kind of like SPHD, that monthly high yield dividend ETF. And basically, you kind of figure out where they collide, right? And not collide, but where they match up. So if you look here, high yield's obviously going to be, out in front to begin with. So you kind of go through year one, year two, right? You're going down here. And where does high yield and mix kind of catch up with each other? Where does mix, catch up with high yield? And it's about, I think it's like year, let's see where it's at. I think we have right here, or right about here. Year 16 is actually where it catches up. So if you have a longer horizon, you don't necessarily need the money right now, then you might go for mix. Be like, okay, well, it's interesting. Year 16, you're making way more in high growth. So where exactly did high growth catch up with, let's see right here. So actually high growth caught up with high yield at year 14, right? So if you have 14-year or more horizon, might be something to look into. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to personal preference. At year 12, right, high growth beat mixed in a sense, right? It finally caught up to it. And then at the end, what's really, really cool is that at year 30, you're making $1.2 million in dividend income versus 400K versus 250K, right? And so that's what growth is all about. What I like about this, index is that it's all about growth, right? The next one, it doesn't cap its holdings. So this is what I was talking about, where it's different from, DGRO and VIG and SCHD, right? If we go back, I'm going to go right here, and the top 10 holdings right here. Apple, 5.9%. Microsoft, 5.21%, right? It doesn't really cap. I haven't seen anywhere, at least, where it caps the holdings of it. And look at this, technology is almost at 26%. What I like about that is that it lets the growers continue to grow, right? It's like VTI. Everyone loves VTI, but VTI doesn't cap things. And so if you're going to have a winner, let it grow, right? And so that's what I like about that. I like that VIG and DGRO do it, but I also want to make sure I'm balanced, right? I don't want to cap it too much, because if Apple and Microsoft keep doing another 10 years, or let's say, a Broadcom, right, that wasn't here maybe 20 years ago or wasn't prevalent 20 years ago, and now all of a sudden they are, I want to let that grower grow. I don't want to let that, grow my portfolio quite a bit. This is the fifth one, and then we got one more. So what I really like about this, I love it. I really love about this, and I don't know if you've seen, but you can see it on the screen right now. This is very different than VIG and DGRO, and I believe SCHD as well. It has real estate right down here, right? So every time you look at, VIG and DGRO, they always exclude REITs. And I'm like, look, man, I understand that REITs are different from stocks, right? It's different as far as like evaluating them, but I'd like to invest in companies. That's why I'll put this up in the upper right-hand corner too, my REIT dividend growth portfolio, because V&Q just sucked. It really did. It sucked. And so what I like about this is that it has real estate in it. And what's interesting, all the REITs in there are the same ones that I picked out. There's 11 of them. There's Invitational Homes, AMT, that's American Tower, Extra Storage Space. There's National Storage, PLD, Cube, Equinix, MAA, which is apartments, FR. These are tickers, by the way. CCI, which is Crown. And then ADC, Agree Realty, and then Sun Communities, SUI. And so what's cool about that is that it does have REITs, right? It does have all that. So that's what's really, really exciting me. What's interesting for me is that not only I started investing in companies that have high growth, right, for their dividends for REITs and stocks, and now we just found a portfolio that does it all for you, which I love. The last thing I want to mention here before we basically just cut ties and let loose is voting rights in the 24-hour market. Let me touch on the 24-hour market first. This is a personal thing to me. I like to diversify in every single way, and then voting rights will also tie into this. I like to diversify in every single way. Stock market is moving towards a 24-hour market. I know eventually it's going to break. It might just be a day, might be a week. You don't know. At the end of the day, I want to make sure that I can diversify away from that, right? Because pretty much everything I hold is in the 24-hour market, whether it be, individual shares like Google, Visa, MasterCard, Apple, Microsoft, right? Broadcom, United Health, Visa. I think I said Visa already. Costco, right? All those companies are going to be on the 24-hour market. VIG, VYM, VTI, DGRO, STXD, all these are on the 24-hour market. I like to shift away from it for now, and maybe everything will eventually get on the 24-hour market, but this isn't for now, and I really, really like that. The other one is voting rights, right? So if you go right here, unlock the value via our commitment to shareholder primacy achieved through using our voice and vote to lead companies to focus on excellence. What he's saying there, so I've listened to this guy, Vivek, and basically what he said, and I didn't know this, but basically when you own VIG, SCHD, GGRO, right? So that's Schwab, BlackRock, Vanguard, right? Fidelity, State Street, all these different companies. When you own an ETF, the people that basically offer the ETF vote on your behalf, right? And voting's pretty boring, frankly, to be honest with you. I do have some individual companies where is like voting is like, oh, do we keep the same board members and like do we do this or that is really, really boring. It wasn't like, should we do a new product, right? So it's not like you're missing out on too much. But what Vivek was saying is that basically companies are being kind of handcuffed, right? And so, for example, he used one where Chevron was going to do a project and had to end up backing out because of shareholders and stuff like that voting against it. They voted against it because of the environment. Okay, makes sense. We don't want to trash our environment. Here's the problem. The problem is that project was one, very profitable. So people who like money, right, had a problem. But we want to save the earth. Okay, totally understand that. Here's the problem is that China, they had a company, it was a gas company. They went in and actually took the project because someone's going to do it. And they did it right? They did it, they made the money. The problem is they did it worse for the environment, right? Because the US has way stricter standards than China does in revolve. So not only did you make less money, but now the earth is more polluted because of it. And so that's his idea. And, I don't know who's exactly right, whether it's Vanguard, Strive, which is STXD, right? There's BlackRock, Schwab, State Street, Fidelity, right? All these different, I don't know who's right as far as the voting goes, but I want them to compete. I need them to compete because the best ideas are going to come out of competition. So that's why I like it. Again, it just to go through it, right? Why do I not like it? The low yield, right? And the expense ratio is a little bit higher, not that big of a deal. Why do I like it? The dividend growth companies, right? Microsoft, Costco, Broadcom, United Health, Visa, etc., right? They also have companies like Johnson Johnson, Procter and Gamble, Target, Lowe's that are holding down that dividend streak, right? The dividend streak is so high with them; it's half a century. They've been increasing their dividend for 50 years or more every single year. So you have growth and safety. It focuses on dividend growth, right? And you saw it basically with the dividend grower or shower, high growth really does pay off if you have like a 15-year time horizon or more, which most of us listening do. It doesn't cap its holding or its sectors like VTI, so it lets your winners run. It has REITs in here, which is also very, very nice. And the voting rights in the 24-hour market, it's kind of like the diversification on all different levels, right? It's not just asset classes, not just sectors in the economy. at the end of the day, there's so many different things you can diversify in, and one of them is voting rights and 24 hours. So 24-hour market. So that's it from me. We're going to keep it pretty short today. Make sure you grab your free stocks down below if you want to try Robinhood. I love it. Their UI is just fantastic. I'm not sponsored by them. I really do like Robinhood for that reason. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time. Talk to you later. Bye bye.